In this video I'm going to talk about birds, and specifically about how birds are examples of multicellular living things. So how a bird is not just made up of one cell, but many different cells, and how they all work together to perform important functions. So this is a picture of a bird who's just coming out of the egg, or its own egg. In this case, the egg is actually just one cell, so even though it's quite big, it's just one cell. So this would be something that's unicellular, but the thing that pops out of a actual cell, which is a bird, in this case, a bird is definitely multicellular. It's going to have billions of cells. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how these billions of cells help the bird to perform all its important functions to stay alive and thrive. So how this little bird can grow into a very happy adult bird. I'm going to show you a quick video of a bird and how it can help use its cells to find and eat food. So for example, it can use its nerve cells to be able to sense food, and it can be able to use its muscle cells to eat food by moving its beak. Right, so over here we have a magpie, which is an Australian bird, and it's going to be trying to find food, and it's going to use its nerve cells to sense that food. So for example, it's smelling or feeling them. And right now you can see that it's eating actual probably worms, and that needs to be done by moving its beak. So the muscle cells will help it move its beak. So after it's digested and eaten its food, what it has to do is it has to be able to absorb the nutrients. So this is an example of bird droppings, and bird droppings are created, it's basically feces, they're created after all the good nutrients are already removed. So after eating and finding food, what has to happen next is it has to be able to digest food, and what I mean by that is it has to be able to absorb all those healthy nutrients that the bird needs from that food to be able to survive. And each of these requires different cells to perform those really important functions. So that's why we call a bird a multicellular living thing. It relies on different cells for optimum function. In this first video, I'm going to show you how a bird uses its cells to monitor the environment and to move away when their danger does come. So in this case, we have a small bird. This is again an Australian bird, and you can see right now it's eating, and you can see it's looking around, trying to find any prey. In this case, not prey, but predators, and I'm the one who's coming close. So after it's monitored the situation and it sees there's danger, it's going to move away and then use its muscle cells in its wings to actually fly off. So this is one example of how a bird can use its brain, so its nerve cells, to monitor the situation, and then it can use its actual muscle cells in its wings to fly away. So it needs different types of cells to monitor and to move, but that allows it to be able to survive, otherwise it would have been killed by a predator. Now in the next video I'm going to show you here, you can see a couple of birds, and these birds are actually working together. So they're all following each other and they're cooperating. So again, we need to have a very powerful brain to be able to see me come and then move away in a pack. So another way that birds require different types of cells is some cells need to be able to move, right? So the muscle cells help it to move, but then they need to have a very powerful functioning brain that tells it to move and tells it when to move as well. Last couple of videos we talked about how birds require very important cells that all work together to have optimum function. So for example, we said that to be able to eat and digest, they need to have different types of muscle cells, right, which are these here, to be able to function. Also when they have to move, so when they have to fly, they would require muscle cells to fly as well. We also said that they need to have nerve cells which make up the brain, and these nerve cells are important for their behavior, also for them to be able to sense the world around them, right? So behavior and sensing the world around them is done by nerve cells mainly. We also need to be able to make sure we can make new young birds, and that those young birds can grow, and the making of new young birds happens for these sex cells, in this case the sperm and the egg cells, to make a young new bird. And also every single structural component, so a bird is obviously made up of different types of parts, so for example a feather, and cells make up each individual part as well. So what I'm trying to say here is basically these are just all examples of how birds require not just one type of cell, but different types of cells, and very many different types of cells to be able to function properly. So cells are very important for them to have their optimum function, for them to survive, reproduce, and live a normal, healthy life.